We bring in Raptors TV analyst Jack Armstrong, Brooklyn native and Fordham grad who joins us on the phone. Jack, how does a Brooklyn guy end up calling Raptors games?
Well, I got fired. That's what happened. I was a college basketball coach, and I ended up, I live nearby here on the New York side, so the Raptors needed a broadcaster, and here I am, and I enjoyed back in the day when we had John Wallace.
That's funny.
Well, at least someone enjoyed having him on his team.
Wow.
Jeez, Bill.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. What's it like in Toronto here with Game 1 just around the corner, obviously?
Oh, it's absolute utter jubilation and excitement. I mean, the city is just incredibly focused on the Raptors, not only the city, but the province of Ontario, the country of Canada. It's unbelievable. And people kind of forget this, that, the Toronto Blue Jays are Canada's baseball team, and the Raptors are Canada's basketball team. And so you have the eyes of a nation on you. And it's just a remarkable feeling that from coast to coast, this is like the event. I mean, we're completely blowing away the Stanley Cup Finals, and obviously hockey is a big sport in Canada. And nonetheless, the interest is all in the Raptors, and it's just been a joy, having been here for 21 years, to see where things were and where things are now.
So, Jack, I'm thrilled for Toronto and everyone associated with the Raptors organization, but are we dealing with the situation of just happy to be here, or are you guys trying to show up and compete and fight and really challenge this Warriors squad?
Well, during the season, the Raptors beat the Warriors twice. Both times they played them. The last few years, the games have been incredibly competitive and entertaining. So I think the Raptors come into this series quite confident that they can not only play with but beat the Warriors, and I'm sure the Warriors feel the same way on their end. You got a team that in Golden State, their resume speaks for itself, and the Raptors understand that they're going to have to play at an incredibly high level to have a chance to win. But I think they feel really good about the fact that the road that they had to take to get here against good teams. I mean, you look at Orlando, they had the fourth best record in the last few months of the season. Raptors beat them in 5. They were down 0-1 in that series. They beat Philadelphia with arguably the best starting lineup in the league. They were down 1-2 in that series. And then, Milwaukee, which had the best record in the NBA, blew away every statistical category. They're number one offense, number one defense in the league, and the Raptors were down 0-2 to them. So this is a resilient bunch, and as you know, a lot of times sports not only builds character, it reveals it. And I think this group has just great toughness and grit and solidarity and team play, and they got a tremendous group of players. So I think they feel like they're resilient and tough enough and proven enough, and had to go through a really challenging playoff to get here, and I think they're ready.
Jack, I was there with Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, and you were there for the Chris Bosh era. What Kawhi Leonard has done this year, has he usurped all those guys? Is he the best Raptors player of all time already?
John, my first year was Vince Carter's first game. And, I'll never forget calling his first game in Boston 21 years ago, and here's Vince still playing, which is amazing. And obviously, Vince, as we both know, was probably the single biggest reason why Canada has the second most players in the NBA behind the United States. They call that the Vince Carter effect. Mm-hmm. I think when you look at the single greatest season we've ever seen in Toronto Raptors history, absolutely, I think Kawhi Leonard would be the guy that would be the top of the list now. Vince, and then you have Chris Bosh, and Tracy McGrady, who's a Hall of Famer, and Tracy's here tonight. Chris Bosh is here. Actually, he's working TV with us. So we got to get you up here, John. So
we got him locked in long term.
Don't steal him, Jack. Don't steal him.
Well, no, I mean we got to get all the former Raptor legends. So I think Damon Stoudemire is coming tonight. I'm not.
Oh, Biggie. Okay.
Alvin Williams is here working television, and we got a whole bunch of guys. And But to me, it's great to see. Kawhi Leonard has had some just remarkable moments in the playoffs. The thing I love about him, the guy's all business. In an era of sizzle and look at me and I me and all that stuff, guys brand and all that garbage, he is all about ball. The guy's a baller. He shows up. He lets his game do the talking. His practice habits are awesome. He's coachable. He's a great teammate. He's a high-character guy, and he plays his you-know-what off on every single solitary play. He does not take plays off. He's a phenomenal two-way player.
All right, Jack. Kawhi, well documented. We know about him. But outside of Kawhi, and John and I have had various discussions on whether it would be Kyle Lowry or Pascal Siakam, who's the guy who's sort of the X factor for this Raptors team to get this done?
Well, it's interesting. You look at Kyle Lowry in the 2 games this year against Golden State. He's had 24 assists and only 3 turnovers. So he's been a magnificent floor leader for the Raptors, and he's coming off a great series against Milwaukee. So obviously Kyle Lowry will be in the thick of everything. He impacts the game on so many different platforms. Pascal Siakam, in my opinion, with all due respect to D'Angelo Russell there in New York, you look at playing on the second-best team in the league. Kawhi Leonard didn't play 22 games. Had the Raptors get to the point where they had the second-best record, had they get to the point where they're here now, I think Pascal Siakam had a whole lot to do with it. He's a dynamic player. He can guard any position. He's got that switch ability that coaches love these days because people are switching a ton of screen sequences. He can put it to the deck and attack at the rim. He runs the floor. He finishes. He plays just with great energy and pace. And I'm excited to see how he performs on this stage, and played well both games against Golden State during the season. And so I would say if you had to pick an X factor, I'd probably say Siakam, because Lowry, Curry, they've been going against each other for a long time. I'm fascinated to see who kind of Draymond Green consistently guards. And Draymond, as we know, is a wonderful defender.
Jack, can you talk about how the Raptors have single-handedly turned the city of Toronto into a basketball town instead of a hockey town that has been known for so many years?
Yeah, and John, from playing here when you were here, it's a lot of it was you're fighting for the sports highlights. You're probably on the 18th minute of Sports Center behind curling highlights and hockey highlights and all the other stuff. That's different now. Canada's a different place now. They're welcoming to immigration. They have the most multicultural, and John, you remember this when you were here, and it's just a joy to see. You go to a Raptor game, it's like being at the United Nations. It's the most multicultural fan base in the NBA by far. It's a cultural mosaic, and people embrace that, and they celebrate it, and there's a lot of respect and unity. And you look at Jurassic Park, the outside of the arena, and you take a look at the faces out there. It represents the new Canada. And the new Canada is people coming from all places of the world where hockey wasn't a big deal. They didn't even know what hockey was. And they get here, and the sports they identify with are the 2 worldwide sports that everyone identifies with, and that's soccer and basketball. And by the way, they're the 2 fastest growth sports in Canada. So to me, this is all part of that. This is all part of that logical progression now that it's all come to life. And now you have a lot of, and I'm in the business, now I have a lot of these television executives that are in their late 50s, 60s that are quite quote-unquote hockey pucks that are finally seeing the light of what their kids, and even for some of them, their grandkids are telling them that, hey, man, basketball's cool. I want to play it. I want to watch it. And, I think the whole hip-hop culture and the fashion and all that, I think our sport does a phenomenal job embracing and connecting with the younger generation. And the last thing I'll say is this. The other thing that's helped our sport here, particularly at least with hockey, and even to a lesser degree with football, is head injuries. I think a lot of people are saying, I don't want my kid playing football. I don't want my kid playing hockey. Well, what's a safe, affordable sport to play? Basketball is right at the top of the list.
For more great videos from the MSG 150, check out right there. And remember, our show is on Monday through Thursday, 8 to 10:30 p.m. on MSG Network and MSG Go.